You guys have been waiting patiently to see some FSD footage, and I have got quite a bit, but I'm going to start with this one. This was shot day before Thanksgiving, and it is a wild, wild ride, albeit kind of a short one. I'll go ahead and narrate it. I've done a bunch of these, but they're a real bear to edit, so let's take a look at this one. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. So I got the Insta360, and it makes the whole thing a bit easier, a little less headspace occupied. You can just hit go and away you go. It's a bit of work. So the first thing it did was give me some strange hesitation at the corner, which is no big deal. It did fine. Pulled a little closer to the curb than any human would on that road that I've ever seen, certainly, but that's no big deal. When it got to the green light, though, it straddled the straight lane and the left and the right turn lanes, and then it kind of waited, and then it just tried to pull into oncoming traffic. So that was an intervention. That's bad. Don't do that. We changed our destination and reactivated FSD a half mile later, and got some very strange blinker behavior at the light, where it just kept kind of switching between the left and the right blinkers. And this is confusing to the cars around us. It was confusing to us. Clearly the car was confused. Drivers need you to behave in a predictable way, and going 2 blinks right, 1 blink left, 2 blinks right, 1 blink left is not a good way to behave predictably. So I don't know what the heck it was thinking, but, you know, there you go. Most of the rest of this first drive was pretty good. It did tend to get closer to parked cars than we were comfortable with. Maybe that's a preference thing. I just feel like I can control that a little better myself. I don't know. It's not a complaint. I'm sure if another driver drove that way, I'd be fine with it. But not knowing what the car's going to do next made it a little unnerving for us. There was some strange hesitation around a pretty straightforward bend in the road, but I'm going to chalk that up to a lack of training data in our area. It's not a very big town, but there's a lot of Teslas here, so I'm not sure why it's so hesitant, but it's not a big deal. When it came time to pull into the actual parking lot, it first entered the center turn lane bizarrely early, and then it felt like it was trying to go behind the car coming out, or maybe just smack into it, or maybe go in through the left lane. I don't know what it was doing, but it was a shockingly unsafe bit of behavior, and if any driver had done that and you were in the car, you would have probably ask them if their medical situation is under control or if they need some help, because it was truly, truly bad, truly terrifying. So that was 11.4.4, hardware 4, in assertive mode. For the drive back, we put it in moderate to get a hopefully more relaxed drive, at least to do some A/B testing and see if it was going to behave differently. And so the first thing it did when we put in our destination was it tried to route us through a familiar path. And by familiar, I mean an illegal path, and one that I've reported every time it tries to go that way, but it refuses to accept that this is not a legal route. It's a double yellow line across 2 lanes of oncoming traffic, and this is at rush hour, so we manually dropped a pin, and it routed us the longest way there we could have imagined, a way we've never gone before, a way that no one would have gone. But, you know, this is a non-assertive mode, so I figured, hey man, we're along for the ride. Let's see where we're going. And as we left the parking lot, it stopped all the way back at the line, which I guess you're supposed to do, sure. And then it just kept creeping forward until it reached the street and inched out far enough that cars had to swerve to get around us. Maybe they didn't have to, but a human would, and a human did. And then it decided to just go ahead and pull halfway into oncoming traffic and stop. So I intervened, avoiding the second collision at this very same spot in, in a row, I guess you'd say. Later, we reached an intersection where there were two left turning lanes, and it understood that. It took the outside lane, which I thought was impressive. But as it went around the corner, it was unsure and it was hesitant, and it was just unpleasant as an experience as an occupant of the vehicle. It's the sort of behavior where if your kids drove this way, you probably wouldn't let them drive solo, just yet. It's not the way humans drive, unless maybe, you're in a unfamiliar country or world, which I guess the car is. I just don't understand how there's such a lack of data.
It's flashing. Saw the pedestrians.
We encountered an RV slowly turning into a parking lot, which it saw and handled just fine. Though interestingly, after it was out of the way and we had gone past it, the car decided, let's let's get in the other lane for a bit, for no reason at all, and then it got back over. Not a problem. If a human did that, you wouldn't think twice. If you were in a legit, robo-taxi, you'd say, interesting, not a big deal.
I mean, it was gone.
When we got to a left turn yield light, it went ahead and pulled out into the intersection and just kept creeping. Again, just so hesitant, and it kept moving further into oncoming traffic, which, again, has the right of way. And then it was kind of like lurching and stopping, and so I intervened, pulled the car back to safety, and left a fun message for, I'm sure, literally no one to hear, because I'm confident no one is on the other end of these recordings, especially when I and others have left the same recordings over and over in the same places and nothing ever changes. Maybe they've heard one recording in each of these places, but I know I'm not alone in having problematic places like that left turn where it just really wants to cross a double yellow into two lanes of oncoming traffic. It's just not showing any improvement. And that was it. I just disengaged. We're done. That was too many engagements in too short of a time. Every 10 minutes to have to prevent a collision is too many. It's too many. And I know there's a lot of people out there who put up videos of drives that are hours long with no interventions. I'm confident that those people are in places where there's more training data. Vastly more. San Francisco area, LA, the whole state of California, probably. There's a lot more training data there. And I'm not saying, for anyone thinking I might be too hard on Tesla, remember who I am. My thing is I like to be fair. And to call this anything other than a disaster would require me to use language less kind than disaster, because this is a mess. If I was just a customer, and this was my experience with it, the dollar value I would assign to FSD today is 0. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't use it.